Hello you guys, it is Stephanie from Unveiling the Spirit, and I want to do something a little bit different today. Not only the fact that this is the first video that I've done while I'm driving, but I want to talk about, instead of giving a spiritual perspective on topics or issues or question that I'm asked, I kind of want to talk about something that's been on my heart and mind and an observation that I've made about Christianity. But today I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone and run some errands while I get this video done. And so I'll probably be driving for the most of this video until I get where I'm going. So, but anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is what I'm noticing, and it's nothing new. I just think it's getting worse, and that Christianity has a very, very bad reputation. Before, the death of George Floyd, I already knew that some people thought that Christians were judgmental, mean, and hypocritical. But now it seems that since George Floyd's death, racist has also been added to that list. And I say that because, for those of you who don't know, the evangelical churches, which is some of the largest churches in the U.S., it has some of the biggest congregations, refuse to, acknowledge what is going on in the black community, and then continue to express and continue to support a president who also doesn't care and keeps reciting and spewing racist rhetoric. And I'm on social media a lot. I have a few Facebook groups that I run, and I just hear this negativity towards Christianity because of this. I mean, there are some other things, but this is one of the things to me that has kind of made it a little bit worse. Just the other day, I saw a post where someone said that there's no love like no hate like Christian love. And that is very sad to me, and it really breaks my heart to hear people say this, because I know that it does not represent Christ even in the least. And I feel bad, not only that those who are expressing Christ in that way don't fully understand his heart and mind and how they work together to reflect him accurately, but I also feel bad for the people who are getting this impression that this is how God is. And so or Christ is, but so anyway, but it makes me that much more dedicated to make sure that I am representing him correctly, because I know there's so many false representations out there of God. I mean, even when you think about the evangelical church, their underlying racism, or passive racism, I like to say, is really no surprise, because from the beginning of America's conception, or the evolution of Christianity in America, begins with brutalization of Indians and slaves. And so not only did they do these things in the name of Christianity, or using Christianity to justify it, they also used the Bible to try to convince slaves, African slaves, that it was God's will for them to be slaves. And so the Bible has just been misused and perverted over almost almost the existence of the world. I mean, when you think about the Pharisees, they had the Torah, but they were also using it in a way where they were mistreating other people and not being fair in a sense. And so, I mean, that's a simplified way to explain it, but it's really unfortunate. And like I said, I think that should make Christians that much more determined, those who are sincere, those who know the heart of God, to really shine their light even brighter, because people really need to see and understand God from a different perspective of just being judgmental and hypocritical and mean. And even when I go into Christian Facebook groups, I get the same type of response. There's so many Christians that are just so mean that it sometimes is very shocking to me that they're professing to be Christian. But the observation that I want to explain that I've made about this is that this is all in the making of what is going to bring the world to join the Antichrist in turning against Christianity. Okay, so like sometimes when you read the Bible and you hear that, you know, the Antichrist is going to start killing Christians, you know, you just have a very vague overview of what that might look like or what that is. And some people don't even think about it. They just look at the persecution part of it. But everything has to start in the mind, and it's a thought process. So, for example, the devil cannot make you do anything that you don't want to do. So, for example, if he tells me to go and kill my neighbor, I'm going to be less open to doing that because I don't have any problem with my neighbor. But now if you have a problem with your neighbor, or you're judging your neighbor, or there's been an issue or confrontation with your neighbor, all of a sudden the idea of hurting your neighbor becomes that much easier to suggest. And so for the devil to be able to get the world to stand against Christianity, there's going to have to be a thought process that leads them in that direction. I will give you one more example. When it comes to racism, sometimes I hear people say, white people don't like me because of the color of my skin. That is too simple of an explanation. The human mind is more complex than that. The thing is that it's not the color of your skin. They don't look at the brownness of your skin and say, I don't like that person. Now, I'm being very literal because I'm trying to explain something. So they don't look at the color of your skin and it's brown and say, oh, I don't like that person because their skin is brown. They have a thought process that's associated with that color that makes them feel justified in disliking you because of your color. So if they have an idea that black people are all lazy or bums or criminals or violent, that makes it much easier for them to associate your bad behavior with your skin color. And then, of course, for the devil to suggest that they have a legitimate issue with you. And so the devil is the master of deception. And I give him the credit for being very, very clever, and that throughout history, he has used even the Bible to brutalize, violate, oppress people. And then it's going to end up turning that, the orchestration of that is going to be what he uses to also turn the world against Christianity. And so if you think about it, all of the history of everything that has been done in the name of Christ, and you know, as a people, we look at the bad more than we look at the good. So there can be people who have done great, wonderful things in the name of Christ, but because of our human nature, we will naturally focus on the negative. And when you look at the negative of the things that have been done in the name of Christ, there is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of brutality, there is rape, there is murder, there is oppression, there is racism, there are a lot of hypocritical, mean, judgmental Christians. And as we move further along and closer to the last days, all of these things will combine to let the enemy use as ammunition to point out that there is something fundamentally wrong with Christianity, and that the world should be against it, and it needs to be eradicated. And so with the way things are going now, I can totally see it getting to that point. Even now, Christians, a lot of people that are Christians are very arrogant. So you can't tell them anything. You can't correct them. You can't even say, well, I think, you know, you should try more to reflect the love of Christ, or that you're not reflecting the love of Christ accurately. Christians, a lot of times, can't even take correction. And so all of this is going to snowball into what is going to cause Christians a lot of anguish and misery as we get closer to the last days. But don't think for a second that it is just out of thin air, that the devil is just going to say, hey, let's hate Christians, and then everybody joins to hate Christians. I've even met so many people who are not Christians and will tell you that they don't trust Christians, that they have been hurt in church, that they don't go to church because of how they were treated and how pastors treated them. And I'm just like, it really it baffles me, it hurts me, it confuses me, but I understand how it can be used to now make the majority of people turn into against Christianity. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, and maybe that will help those of you who are Christian too, because it's unavoidable. It's not like if we all decide to reflect the love of Christ more and the wisdom of Christ more and the mind of Christ more, that all of a sudden the last days are not going to happen. They're going to happen. It's unavoidable because, you know, getting everybody to act that way, especially in unison, is close to impossible. But we need to understand how crucial it is for us to get it right. You know, for us to reflect God in the right way. We cannot stop the last days from happening, but we can do the best that we can today and make sure if we're not touching the world as a whole, that we are still touching people individually in our own lives, where we are, when we go to the store, when we go to church, when we interact with our kids' teachers, our spouses, our family, our friends. Somebody has to do it right. And I know there's a lot of people that are doing it right. And I don't want to say I fault those people for doing it wrong, because I understand that they are human too, but they are at the same time adding to the overall misconception and bad reputation and taste people have in their mouth about Christianity. So anyway, that's all I want to talk about today. I hope you guys got something out of this. This is like, you know, my first time recording while I'm driving. Like I said, it actually seems to be a little bit easier than doing it at home. But anyway, that's it. Send me your feedback if you want, your questions, your comments. I welcome them. And you guys have a blessed day. Thanks. Bye.